All right, welcome to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate. As always, I am your host, Dean Harris, and I'm with Douglas Skipworth. How are you, buddy?
Hey, man, doing great.
We're bringing you this podcast to give you the boots on the ground knowledge to be a successful real estate investor here in Memphis, Tennessee. Please like and subscribe to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate on your YouTube channel, Spotify, Facebook, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcast. We could not do this show without our show sponsors. They're listed on the screen below. Triumph Construction, River City Title, Corlin Financial, CrestCore Property Management, and Will Griffin over at Griffin, Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer. Couldn't do our show, couldn't run our businesses without those guys, so super grateful for them. I help buyers and sellers every day. Dean at CrestCore.com. If you have any questions about any purchase in Memphis, give me an email. I'll be happy to connect with you and get you set up with our team. That buyer profile link has been great.
Killer.
If you're not familiar, you can go to one of our pages. There's a way that you can join our team with that buyer link, that profile. It's great. It's been a real help for a lot of people.
Good.
We just did that podcast last week. So today we're going to talk about why it is important to hire a property manager. So this is popular. Someone might also do a podcast on why it's important to self-manage. I don't know how in the world that you could get your head around it, but I get some opinions that say, hey, I could self-manage. I got some opinions that go the way that we're going to go. My experience is coming, or my knowledge here, or my words and my opinion today is coming from personal experience. Okay. I know yours is.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I know yours is, but it's so important because I almost want to just sit here and just be like, go ahead.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, and I'll let you talk because you've got a whole lot of good info on this. But if you plan to scale and you plan to run a real estate investment business, and it's long-term rentals or short-term rentals, even like whatever it may be, and you're going to scale, hiring a property manager is, in my mind, mandatory. You have to do it.
Yes.
You will not be able to do all things. You can't be all things to all people. Hiring a property manager to me is just a step in the process. It's not a question of if I am, but it's something that I'm for sure doing. I did it from the very beginning. I had CrestCore from the very jump, first property, because I knew for sure I wanted 5 million properties, right? Or whatever it is. So I wanted a bunch. So I knew I had to have this partner.
Yes.
Your experience over the years, I know that some of this began from this, but I want to give you kind of the floor here.
This whole topic reminds me of Abraham Lincoln, his quote that the lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? The lawyer who represents himself has a fool. So Abe Lincoln said that 150 years ago because there's something to that. Mm-hmm. And, it's the worst decision. Definitely the worst decision I made. I think we've talked about this before. It's self-managing. Somebody told me when I was getting started, I had planned to use a manager. Mm-hmm. And somebody was like, no, you shouldn't. Somebody in the business who was self-managing. No, you shouldn't. You should learn how to manage the property. Learn how to get the calls from the tenants. Learn how to schedule with contractors. Learn how to go to the Home Depot and meet them at Home Depot. Go to the bank and get your cash.
Learn how to be miserable.
Learn how to be miserable and somebody's errand boy. Yeah. I mean, that's what you end up doing because, where do we want to start? Like with the tenants will run you ragged.
Yes.
The contractors will run you ragged.
Yes.
And the whole process is just a time suck.
Over
and over
retweet.
And over. Yes. So, I got... you're just learning and you're lowering your standards along the way because it's your money and you got to do this. So it's like, I accepted cash, right? Somebody wants to pay cash. Like, okay.
But you got to collect the rent.
I got to collect the rent. And so I'd go, you take cash. And then that's dangerous in this day and age.
Absolutely. Especially driving around. And
going to the tenant to pick up rent.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because this is good, and we'll probably go way off the notes, but this is good, and I think this is valuable. I know this is not the most comfortable thing on the planet. Oh, I can tell.
I'm like,
I know. But this is valuable.
Yeah,
and I think we've all made mistakes on here, and I learned this one from you, and didn't go down this path. But at what point did you realize? Oh no.
Yeah, I was way in deep, with plenty of rentals, self-managing, running around town. I mean, I remember there was a lady who lived down by Rhodes College, and we lived out here in East Memphis, and she would call, and she'd be like, hey, I got $100. And you're like,
dang.
But you knew that if you didn't drop everything and go pick up that $100, that there wouldn't be, you weren't going to get it.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do?
So in
that scenario, you drop everything
and go get the $100,
and you go get the $100.
Yeah,
and you just do that over and over in many, many circumstances. Somebody comes and they don't have. You've got power. You've just finished renovating the place, and so you got power on it in your name.
So for your decision, let me make sure I'm asking you right. So this wasn't necessarily about a financial decision for you up front. It wasn't like, hey, I don't want to spend that money on that. Or was it more like, I need to learn it?
I think it was both, because all of a sudden you're like, well, here's the justification. But there's also like, man, you're saving money. Like, why am I going to spend a management fee
if I'm capable?
When I'm capable, because you're either spending your time or your money. Which do you value more?
Oh yeah.
And
oh, I'm a master at that one.
Yeah, and erroneously or just foolishly, I valued my time. I valued my money more.
Yeah.
Than my time, and that's not.
Man, this is good.
The people people you look up to value their time more.
Yes. Well, because you can't get more of that, and I can figure out a way to make everything else happen. You're exactly right.
And so if you value your money more and you spend your time doing needless things and in low dollar value things, we've had that conversation on this podcast before. You're doing $5, $10 an hour work, something you could pay somebody to do, but you're running around doing that. And not to mention that sucks the life out of you and the energy and the time and the fighting traffic to go get to a places, or fighting circumstances and the weather. Like, it's raining today. You got to get out in the rain, and you get.
So today we're talking about why it's important to hire a property manager, and this is extremely valuable. I learned a long time ago about. I'm in a job where I'm a real estate agent. I only get paid when I close deals.
Yes.
So I feel like I have mastered the art of maximizing my time during the day. I know a lot of people, whatever their job might be, they come in at 8 and they leave at 5 or 6, and they get a fair amount of work done, but their level of amount of work done doesn't necessarily reflect their income, right? So when you're an entrepreneur or you're an agent or you're somebody like that, I've learned how to, if I'm at work, I'm maximizing my time. And I learned, from you, along with you, that managing property and trying to collect rent is under no circumstances a good use of time when there's a great service for it. Now, if it's the only way to do it, then it's the only way to do it. We've got company here that handles thousands of houses. We can manage and handle everything. So that's the point I'm trying to make. It's like, why do $20 an hour work when you can do $250 an hour work or $400 an hour work buying houses and being that investor? I just think it's all about managing. Today's topic is why it's important to hire a property manager. This applies in about every
for sure
thing in life.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about.
But hiring that manager, self-managing leads to a diluted business, in my opinion. You won't be as good in other areas like your acquisitions, and you won't have the relationships with outside people to help you grow. Yeah. You'll know everything about little Susie and little Johnny tenant down the road. You'll know all that. That's so irrelevant in your business and how you're going to keep moving forward, right? Yeah. Hiring a property manager is almost mandatory. I'm going with mandatory. No calls from tenants in the middle of the night. This is my most common question is I get from other investors or people that say, I thought about management. Do I have to take the calls about the stuffed toilets? Yes.
If you self-manage, you do. I mean, I remember being when my kids were little, I started buying rentals, planning for the future, and my wife and I got the luxury, which was about once a year, we got to go away for a weekend, right? And somebody was keeping the kids, and so this was our chance to be together.
Yeah.
And I remember lots, but one vivid memory is standing there by the pool down in Florida somewhere, taking a call from a tenant. And thinking, what am I doing? Like, I'm on vacation, but there's nobody else to answer that call. There's nobody else on my team. I'm a one-man self-managing team. So nobody else could take that call.
Do you remember how many houses you had then? Were you over 10?
But sure. Yeah. Yeah. It was.
And you're running right.
That was right. That was, they made less than 10. Because that was when I remember that. She lived on Gibbon.
Oh, so you remember the call.
Yes. Because it was
he remembers the house.
You're on vacation and you're thinking, and this is a moment where you're like, what am I doing? And so then, that maybe set the trajectory of like, I got to get out of this self-managing business because this is ruining my life.
That is valuable. I mean, ruining your life. I mean, and it was. I guess it was.
It ruined like the special moment that you only get once a year. And like you have
You're
to take
on the phone with the lady from Gibbon Avenue.
A lady from Gibbon Avenue.
What you mean?
I can't remember if it was maintenance or leasing or payment. And I mean, I'm sure it was all of those in one, right? So, but I remember vividly, like this is for the birds. This is not for me. We got to go back and change this. And so thankfully we were able to make some decisions that led to CrestCore managing my property. And so I was like, hallelujah. And they built the systems, right? Like you're reinventing the wheel as a self-manager.
Oh, you're the only wheel. You're inventing
where am I
everything.
going to get a lease? How am I going to do background checks? How am I going to market? Am I put a sign in the yard? Am I going to put it on Zillow? How am I going to market this property? Am I going to collect the security deposit? Is it a fee or is it a deposit? Am I going to put it in a separate bank account? Am I going to put it in my bank account? You got to do that for everything. And on.
Hey, professional leasing with management handles tenant screening. That was my next note. Like, how in the world, as an individual, are you going to properly know if that tenant can pay the rent or not up to rental standards?
I'll tell you how you are. They've got cash and money, cashier check,
and they'll come meet you right now.
And they'll come meet you right now, and you'll say, "Okay."
You will die on the vine.
Done.
You have zero chance to make it if you self-manage and that's how you occupy your houses. Zero.
Yeah. You have to. I mean,
you won't survive by saying, "Hey, come meet me with the cashier's check and sign this lease."
We can sign the lease on the hood of your car, right outside.
You won't make it.
Yeah.
I don't believe for any circumstances that if that's how you handle and want to self-manage that you're ever going to be able to make it past 4 or 5 houses.
No, because you're just running yourself ragged managing that show.
Process.
That show.
Oh, it's a shit show. You can say it. I'll say it.
There it is.
Yeah.
Managing
it's an amazingly large shit show. But I tell you, I feel that we've made, one thing that we've done here is we've had fun with this topic a little bit. There's nothing funny about this.
No.
You're coming from a place really of concern and personal experiences that, man, not only was this tough and hard, but it affected your family and communications. And like you're on your one vacation by the pool on the phone with the lady from Gibbon. And, you said under 10, and it's like, that's the most common person that thinks that they can self-manage when you have under 10, and here you are handling it. And by the way, to save what? I bet she paid $800 in rent. You're thinking $20 a week you're saving.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you break it down to that, it's like, you mean for $20 this week, you'd have paid $200 to get off the phone right there.
Oh man. To be able to go out of town and be like, I don't have to take any calls.
That's exactly right.
Have to worry about any of this. Yeah, you're exactly right, because we talk about leverage, financial leverage, like most people who are buying property, most people that our sponsors work for, leverage their financial resources.
Yes.
They put some money down and then they borrow the rest.
Yep.
Well, that's exactly what we're talking about with people. Like people leverage.
Yep.
Like you leverage your time by hiring other people to do things. It's all, you want to nerd out big time, you go to Adam Smith and his specialization and exchange. It's like, you do this really well, I do this really well, we both get paid, and then we swap for, what you do well and what I do well. I don't
That's right.
go to I don't try and learn how to do my own teeth or cut my own hair or work on my own car. And
That's
I mean, you
right.
could
We do
grow
this
my
all
own-
the time.
Grow my own food. I mean, you talk
That's an
about
excellent point. We do this with a lot of different things. Why in the world would you not do it with this? No, that's great. That's a
Yes.
good point. Actually,
Yes.
out of this entire thing, you're doing this in other areas of your life right now. You're just not realizing it.
You're just not realizing, because it's all about leveraging. And we talked about this before about active and passive, and that real estate's supposed to be passive investing.
Yes.
And we've talked about maybe not so active.
Yeah.
Is maybe a better word. And so but self-managing is 100% active investing.
Yes.
There's nothing passive about self-managing, but if you leverage people, it can become less active.
Oh, I manage the
or more
manager.
passive. Yeah. But
Yeah. I mean, to a certain, I don't have to do
Yes.
a whole lot, but I manage the manager. It's like I know what's going on.
Yes.
If not, you just don't know. Like things go in sequence and they're handled, but I'm watching it.
Yeah.
It's like an owner of the NFL team does not go to the game.
that's right.
He's going to the game.
Absolutely.
Like I'm watching and seeing what's going on and observing and
And
making
he's not
sure.
playing and calling the plays
No,
unless
no.
he's Jerry Jones, and then you don't win Super Bowls.
Then you don't win. You see
So
what happens.
Like,
I mean, that's another analogy I didn't really expect.
Yeah.
Don't be the Jerry Jones of real estate. Sticking your finger in everything and your nose and everything. Good Lord. Just get out of it and let somebody that's handling it. I mean, that's what this breaks down to. Let somebody that's a professional handle this in your business. I mean, I don't.
and chances are you'll have better performance and
Yeah.
you'll sleep better. You'll have better vacations because you're not tired. You can be present in the focused in the moment and not worrying about, oh, did I do this? Have I got that? What did yeah.
This is important today. I
Yeah,
mean, I
good.
know this was a little bit quicker one, but I did want to stress why some of these things are important. Like one area that we didn't necessarily touch on as much was just the organization from a financial standpoint. When you go and meet with your bookkeeper and your CPAs and your people like that, I mean, if you don't have a property manager that has organized your your portfolio and the things that are being charged to certain houses, I guarantee you guys
Yes.
don't want to sit down and do that.
Yeah, Dean.
There's another organizational tool for it.
Hey, Dean, here I am. I'm a seller. I've got 10 houses I want you to sell for me. I want you to list them for me. Oh, by the way, your first question, are you self-managing it or are you using a professional manager?
Yeah.
I'm a self-manager.
I know for a fact it's not going to go the way that person wants it to go.
Yeah, because it's like, well, I'll bring you my paper ledger of my, I got some receipts somewhere. Yeah, I have maintenance records. No, I don't really have those,
but the houses are in great shape.
Yeah.
Right. So how am I going to go sell that to somebody else that's got all the same questions? A competent buyer is going to ask you for leases and ledgers, maintenance history. If it's a big portfolio, they might even want a tax return from you on it, like depending on what it is. So there's a whole bunch of things that you've got to have ready. And if you're self-managing,
you
unless
don't
you're
cut
just
corners because it's
Oh
like that.
my
Why are you going to
gosh.
spend all your time doing the administrative stuff?
Because you're doing
You
everything.
can't.
You got to cut corners.
You have to cut the administrative corner.
And man, that's the worst. Your value goes down. Your ability to sell goes down. Your ability to leverage. How about the bank? The bank wants all that information too. Property management is mandatory. Maybe that's the title of the podcast today.
Yeah.
Property management is mandatory. I don't feel like there's any other way to have a conversation about a real estate business and scaling if you're not going to come at me and say, hey, I'm hiring a professional property manager. Shame on you if it didn't CrestCore, but if you got to hire a property manager to do this job correctly. So anything else to add? I know you could sit here for a long time, and I don't. We've joked and we've made fun of this scenario, but this comes from you from a. I want people to hear this. A real intense in-depth feeling of
please don't do what I did. Like I'm just trying to be like, hey, from someone who's been there, done it, is like, I don't self-manage and I don't self-manage and I have family members who have gotten in and they don't self-manage.
Yeah, no, you can't do it.
Because it's like, why would I tell somebody to walk down that path that I've walked down and have like all these bruises and I still walk with a limp?
Take the same path.
Don't do that. It's like, no, here's a better way.
That's
I've
right.
seen a better way. I've seen the light, so to speak. Like, come do this.
Any questions, Dean at CrestCore.com. CrestCore Property Management is always here to help. I can connect you with those guys if you've got questions on property management. Anything else today?
Great.
All right, Dean at CrestCore.com. We'll see you next time.